Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really diving deep into this one. Alan Watts, The Wisdom of Insecurity. You brought this excerpt to the table, and honestly, even skimming it, I can already tell it's going to be one of those thought-provoking ones.
Oh, absolutely. It really is something. And you know what? Even though Watts wrote this decades ago, what he's saying about meaning, anxiety, and faith, all in this constantly changing world, it's like he could have written it yesterday. Really resonates today.
It really does, yeah. He kind of starts right off the bat painting this picture of, well, he calls it an age of anxiety. And I don't know about you, but that feels pretty relatable, would you say? Like, he talks about being bombarded with information, constantly stimulated, almost as if we're trying to outrun something, you know?
Yeah, and it's like what's so fascinating is, well, at least to me, is where he sees this anxiety coming from. It's like we're obsessed with the future, always chasing tomorrow, and tomorrow never actually gets here. Instead of, like he suggests, finding a way to be okay, to be content in this moment right now.
It's so true. It's like we're wired for it or something. Always looking for that next thing, that next achievement, that next, I don't know, the next thing that's finally going to make us feel like we've made it, like we're safe.
Yeah.
But Watts, he suggests that this striving, this constant need for more, it's actually what's keeping us stuck.
Exactly. And to explain this whole thing, he uses this analogy. It's actually kind of interesting. He talks about trying to mail a package of water.
A package of what?
Water. He's saying that so many of these solutions we have, the traditional ones anyway, for these big life questions, politics, the economy, even art, it's like we're trying to solidify something that just isn't meant to be solid.
Huh. When he says package water, it makes me think about, well, everyone I know who's trying to climb the career ladder. Like, we're all after that same thing, that ultimate security, that ironclad guarantee that everything's going to be okay, that things will always be stable, predictable. But then you look at the job market and it's like, well, life, really, it's constantly changing.
There you go. Perfect example. And it all comes back to this very human thing, this desire for things to be permanent, to be in control, especially in a world that, well, let's face it, often feels pretty chaotic. We crave certainty, that's for sure. But Watts, he's suggesting that maybe, just maybe, true security comes when we can accept that everything changes, that it's fluid.
Which is kind of a scary thought when you really stop and think about it. It's like our whole relationship with uncertainty has to change. And you know what else is a little unsettling? This whole thing he dives into about science and faith, he argues that even though science has brought all these advancements, it hasn't necessarily replaced what people used to get from religion.
Yeah.
That deeper meaning.
Right, exactly. It's like science is great at the how of things, but it doesn't always do a very good job with the why. And the why, that's what a lot of people are really looking for, that deeper existential meaning. It's like he's saying that even if intellectually you get science, it doesn't mean you aren't going to feel a little lost, a little, empty maybe.
And here's where things get really interesting. So Watts argues that, yeah, traditional religion might be on the decline, but it's not like people have stopped believing altogether. It's like they've just found new things to believe in, new ideologies to cling to. He even says, and I love this, that it's like believing in belief itself.
Totally, like it's in our DNA or something. We have to have something to latch onto, even if it's just the idea that there's something out there to latch onto. It really speaks to that human need for security, for meaning. We keep coming back to that. And this is where Watts says, hey, what about this? He's talking about shifting away from belief and moving more towards what he calls true faith.
And he's very specific about that distinction, right? Like, belief is when we're saying, nope, this is how it is, insisting that the truth has to fit with what we already think and what we want. Faith, he says, that's different. It's about being open, like radically open, being okay with whatever the truth is, even if it means our worldview gets rocked a little, which is, let's be honest, kind of a hard thing to do in a world that's all about being certain, knowing the right answer all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And it circles back to what we were saying about uncertainty. It's like, instead of trying to control the narrative, you kind of have to let go, be open to what is, not what you wish was true. He even says, and this is a bit of a mind bender, that it's when we accept that we don't know anything for sure that we can finally grasp the mystery of it all, the whole universe.
Whoa, okay, that's a lot. So let me get this straight. He's saying the more we need to be certain, the more we're actually missing out on just experiencing life as it happens.
Exactly. Like he's saying that meaning, real meaning, it's not something you get by clinging to a set of ideas. It happens when you're open to the mystery of it all, the constant change that is reality. And it kind of reminds me something like, have you ever heard about Buddhism? There's this emphasis on letting go, on just being in the moment.
It's like that saying, right?
Yeah.
The journey's the destination. We're so busy trying to get somewhere that we forget to actually, enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
But that takes guts, doesn't it? I mean, to be okay with uncertainty, to really ask yourself, what if I'm wrong about this? Especially those beliefs that have been with us forever. It's uncomfortable.
Totally. It's not an easy path. But Watts, he'd say that letting go, that surrender, that's where the good stuff is. True freedom, fulfillment. It's like he uses this metaphor of swimming in a river, right?
Yeah.
Right. Fight against the current and all you get is exhausted. But relax, let go, and you might even find yourself enjoying it.
That's a good one. It makes you think, this isn't just about personal beliefs. It's about how we interact with everything. The news, other people. Are we coming at it with that open, going with the flow energy? Or are we stuck in our own heads about how things should be? 100% right. It's like the core of what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not about giving up on understanding or saying nothing matters. It's about finding a new way to be in the world. One where uncertainty is just part of it, where this moment is enough, and where you're open to actually living, even with the risks and the challenges.
Well, how do you do that? I mean, actually live like that. It sounds like such a huge change. How do we cultivate this kind of faith he's talking about?
Well, he doesn't give you a list or anything, but he makes some good points, like really questioning those assumptions, right? Like, where did these beliefs come from? Because a lot of times it's just our past, our culture. He's big on mindfulness too, paying attention to what's happening right now without judgment and just letting it be what it is. No need to control it. It's like we're so used to looking through our own filters that we forget we even have them on. Those belief-tinted glasses,
Totally. And sometimes, it takes effort to step back, take those glasses off, see things with fresh eyes. And that's what I like about Watts. He makes you think about how you think, about belief itself. And maybe, just maybe, the less we think we know, the more free we can be.
It's like he wants us to be beginners again,
Yeah.
Like when we were kids, everything was new and exciting and we weren't so afraid to just see where things went.
Exactly. And you know what else he talks about? How when traditional religion fades, new myths pop up to take its place, like whole ideologies, political systems, even economic theories, all promising us that same thing. Security, progress, the good life.
Yeah, it's like we can't help ourselves. Got to fill that void somehow, right? Find something, anything, to give us a sense of meaning, especially when the world feels so chaotic.
And those ideologies, they're seductive. They give you a group to belong to, a story everyone believes in. And Watts is really good on this point. He's saying to be careful. Because even if it sounds good, even if everyone's bought in, clinging too tightly to any one system, well, it can be dangerous.
Because at the end of the day, it's still just a story, right? Trying to force fit something huge and messy like life into this neat little box.
Right. It's like trying to pour the ocean into a teacup. It's just not going to work. And you might miss the whole point of the ocean while you're busy trying to shrink it down.
So where does that leave us? If we're not supposed to grab onto beliefs so hard, but we still want our lives to mean something, what are we supposed to do?
$1 million question, right? And I think Watts would probably say it's not so much about the answer, but about changing how we look at it. Real security, real happiness, it doesn't come from outside us. It comes from finding that peace, that acceptance inside ourselves.
Learning to live with the unknown, being okay with not having all the answers, finding a way to actually enjoy the ride, even when it's bumpy.
Exactly. It's about trusting that even though things are messy and confusing sometimes, there's still beauty in it, in just being alive, in experiencing each moment as it comes.
I like that. It's like, it's not that we shouldn't search for a meaning, but maybe the searching is the meaning.
Beautifully put. And what a perfect thing to remember, especially now, The world's moving so fast, we're constantly being told to do more, be more. Watts reminds us to chill out a little. Enjoy the simple things. Be present.
It's about being okay with it all.
Yeah.
The good and the bad, the joy and the sadness, knowing that we can't control it, but we can choose how we react.
Absolutely. And in that choice and that acceptance, that's where we can really be free.
This deep dive has been really something. Watts really makes you think, huh? And what he's saying is like, it was made for the world we live in now. So much chaos, so much pressure. It's a good reminder that maybe, just maybe, the answer is to let go a little. Be here now. What really hit home for you?
It's funny. The whole faith thing, that's what I keep coming back to. How it's not about blind faith, but about being truly open, curious, humble, knowing you don't have it all figured out and being okay with that. That really speaks to me.
It's a good one to carry with us.
Yeah.
And you know what else I'm walking away with? Watts focus on this moment, right here, right now. We spend so much time stuck in the past, worried about the future, but Watts is saying, hey, this is it. This moment is all we have. Maybe instead of trying to escape it, we should appreciate it, find the good in it, because this, right here, this is life. And that's our deep dive for today. We hope this got you thinking, maybe even inspired you to do a little exploring of your own. Until next time, stay curious, folks. And remember, sometimes the best discoveries aren't about finding the right answers, but about asking the right questions.